Before we begin, thank you very much to Tanner M for joining the Patreon campaign over at patreon.com/TJOmega. I know at this point, a lot of you probably skip over this part, just kind of like go to when I'm actually discussing an actual toy, but hey, for the people who stick around and listen to the thank yous and the Patreon shoutouts, you are the hero. Thank you very much for that. Yeah, because they deserve it. You know, if you're chipping in, I'm happy to give you a shout out, and it's and anything else that I can do. So thank you guys so much. We got a juicy rumor. Ooh, we got a juicy rumor. I'm not putting too much stock into it just yet, but it is cause for discussion. There is a leak or a report out of promobricks.de announcing that there is going to be a Lego Optimus Prime set. This would be enormous. Like, not only because it's Hasbro working with Lego. Now, they are competing brands. Now, like when you look at just like revenue numbers, Hasbro right now is the biggest toy company in America. Lego is the biggest toy company in the world. By far it is. So, working with a competitor above them is kind of a big thing. Also, they are getting away with apparently a transforming set. This is apparently fully transforming without disassembling, as well as including a weapon, jetpack, and information plaque. So, typically when Hasbro licenses things out for Transformers, it is with a caveat that you can't make something that converts. Funko Pops, for instance. Like there's novelties. Jada Toys does like micro vehicles. It is extraordinarily rare when any other company besides Hasbro is legally allowed to create a transforming Transformer. So the fact that Lego's getting away with it, kind of a huge deal. We're looking at a 1,508-piece set that is approximately, reportedly going to cost €169.99, which is about $193 domestic. That seems expensive for 1,500 bricks, but okay. That actually, now that I think of it, that seems really expensive for 1,500 bricks, because I collect those. I get the modular buildings from Lego Expert, and they're like 25 to 3,000 pieces for about that same price. Actually, for a little less than that. So I'm genuinely wondering how big it is, how complex it is, or if that's just what the license costs, or this information may not be entirely incorrect. So the source is apparently reputable. Apparently they've gotten a lot of this stuff right in the past. So that's the only reason I'm putting any credit behind it. Still, grain of salt, because this would be a huge change in direction for Hasbro. Because we know they've tried this many times in the past, and they have but also they've let, at least on the Japanese side of things, Transformers has let other companies do building blocks for them. So rather than run over and discuss this rumor, because this is a rumor, supposedly it's coming out in May, but we haven't heard anything of it. They speculate it's connected to Rise of the Beast, so it could have been delayed. We know with Wonder Woman 84, they are perfectly fine releasing their kits whenever they're done. So I'm not really believing that part of it either. But it put me in the mind to go back and we'll look at what building block Transformers have been in the past. And to be fair, they've gotten better over the years. So we almost had the beginnings of building block Transformers in Generation 2 with a set called Blocktown. This one was, and I've talked about Blocktown in the past before, this is part of my canceled Generation 2 toys. They were going to originally be Micromaster re-releases with buildable play sets, tiny little garages and towers and things for them to interact with or hide inside. Nothing terribly complicated. The idea also included smaller vehicles, like your basic G2 vehicles with accessory pieces, gas pumps, etc. And they had big aspirations for this because the king piece of all this was, a big semi-trailer that was also an aircraft carrier. And you can see, when they showed these off for the first time, like, they thought this was going to be huge. They thought this was going to be the next big set in Transformers. None of it happened. All of it got canceled. So that's unfortunate. What could have been is interesting. But the origins go all the way back to the early 90s. We didn't get actual building block Transformers until the early 2000s. And of course, that was Build to Rule. Build to Rule was a mess. They really did not want to lose the action figure portion of anything, and they wanted to put some level of authentic transformation into it. So what they came up with was the Trans Skeleton, a block that unfolded into the basis for a robot mode for these designs. And they also, and the same design was used, and like similarly, the Minicons also had their own Trans Skeleton thing, where they're all basically the same toy. Some kits were a little bit bigger than that. Prime here, he had a Trans Skeleton, but it wasn't the standard one that the normal size ones used. And these were infamous for huge pieces that basically cheated the builds on a lot of parts. And prevented you from like really mixing and matching and rearranging and rebuilding it how you wanted. There's just way too much of a forced building pattern to these to really take off in the Lego space. And also, God, they just looked terrible, didn't they? They looked so bad. They were all really lanky and flat looking and tons of junk hanging off of them. I'm using the Optimus Primes as just as a baseline comparison for all of this. But if you want horror stories, go look at the Megatron from this toy line. I never owned it personally, but oh boy, by far it looks the worst. So maybe one day we'll take a look at that toy in particular. But for now, these were atrocious and rightfully died out. Now, they did have big plans for this one too. They were going to expand into Energon. You see here we have the Energon Prime. Now, to be fair, they were still using a Trans Skeleton base, but as you can see, the design is actually far better. Like, there's actually a lot, like, they actually made a lot of improvements over the Armada line with this one. So credit where credit's due. They acknowledged they had a bad design and fixed it. Too little too late, unfortunately. They gave this one a test market run around the Cincinnati, Ohio area. It crashed and burned, and the toy line never actually saw mass release. This is so infamously bad that I can remember when I bought the Skyblast set and the Scorponok set. I think one other, I can't remember. I bought those off of eBay once upon a time, mint, unopened boxes, well after these had been released, for half of their original retail price, and that was not difficult to obtain. Just because they are rare does not mean they are valuable. I tell that to people all the time at the toy store. It is demand that makes things valuable, and these were not in demand. These were actively, everyone was actively against these existing. And thus, these never came to pass, at least not on a mass scale. And that was it for Build to Rule. The G.I. Joe line, I think, did a little bit better because it made a little bit more sense for G.I. Joe. You didn't have, and I think one of the big detractions from this was you had to disassemble the whole thing and rebuild it into the robot. Disassemble and rebuild it into the vehicle, which is an extremely time-consuming process. You would argue it keeps the building block pattern alive, because why would you disassemble your Transformer after you built it? But at the same time, it's just so inconvenient and time-consuming. This so far is all on the Hasbro side of things, so let's flip over and we're going to see what this was going to look like when Japan did it. As I said, Takara was actually more open to licensing out building block toys, so a company called Diablock gave it a shot. And to be fair, their attempt is not bad at all. So this Optimus Prime is fully transformable. You build it once, and then it just works like an Optimus Prime, which is actually, pretty much, I think, what people genuinely want. The truck mode's a little bit broken up, but for what it actually creates, I don't think it is a bad job at all. I think he's a little bit more of a defined head. I will say that. But for the most part, this is actually like the most impressive job so far. They also tried to do sets for Transformers Animated. Those didn't go as well. They are much smaller sets for starters. They also tried to do no part shift, no like disassembly for transformation. That didn't go so well. Okay, so this one had issues. This one had issues. This one didn't come out as well. So okay. All right, so Diablock is fine. This Diablock is fine. Okay, fine. Okay, so but this is still in the Takara Tomy range. Completely different company tried it too, and that it was Nanoblock. Nanoblock, probably one of the most popular building block toys out of Japan. This one, obviously, it's in Chorokyu design, and it looks fine for what Nanoblock is and for what it goes for. This absolutely looks fine. This is a success. It's just a cute little blocky 8-bit looking Optimus Prime, and that's their aesthetic. So good on them. This one's a win. Let's see. Let's go back, because there's another building block style that Hasbro tried out around the Age of Extinction Transformers Prime era. That's Constructbots, which is far closer to, say, your Bionicle than your traditional building blocks. And I'm sure there are Bionicle fans in my comment section who are just not happy at all that I dared to compare these to Bionicles, because really it's not a fair comparison, but it's as close as I can come, at least as how they operate as toys. A lot of the junk hanging off of these, it is, again, take apart and reassemble. A lot of ball joint construction. There were genuine transformation elements they tried to keep in, but for the most part, you're still looking at something that was obviously not what fans were after. It's there's still work to be done. But the point really on these wasn't to create like clean, perfect Transformers. The point on these was to just create easily swappable parts so you could customize your own Transformers build and look. And in that, there really wasn't anything wrong with them. So they were just like, I just think the aesthetic, I think, was the problem here. They just they're just too skeletal, too broken up looking. Not quite what we were after. Then came their most successful attempt, which was Creo. Creo actually, still with the same take it apart and reassemble it thing, but you can tell they ditched the trans skeleton. They ditched having any genuine transformation element of any kind. This is a blend G1 movie Optimus Prime that actually looks like a competent toy, and everything seems like it is built very well here. So the head is way too tiny. But beyond that, it does look categorically better than previous like build-to-rule designs. They did these a lot, and Creo probably survived longer than any other line that they had done. Well, absolutely, because it lasted more than a year. And they tried to keep reinventing this toy line to not only to kind of fit the current toy, the current like main lines, but also in response to how they performed. It wasn't just like, oh, these don't work, let's scrap it. It was, let's reinvent it and see if we can't make something work. So the big sets like this didn't last very long. And then they went down to a Creo-based marketing scheme. These are, they made Creo blind bags that had enough parts to get a rudimentary vehicle mode. There was no Optimus Prime, so you're looking at lug nut here. These were cute collectible little things, and mostly an excuse to use spare bricks and to keep trademarks alive. But whatever works, I guess. This is, these were fine. These were fun little things to collect once upon a time. They did try to do bigger kits, Creons that were built up with a lot more parts, and then these little guys. These were kind of budget toy releases, but they actually worked. Like, this is a fully transforming Optimus Prime. Once you build it, you can just transform it. Again, kind of jank, but this was also a really small set, so for the size that it went for, this is a success. I'm not going to harp on this one, because for what it was going for, it actually accomplished it. Let's see, what else did we do? So the most recent one was attempt at this was actually out of China. If I remember which one, yeah. So over in China, they did their own take on the Cyberverse designs and created the Neza Transformers line, which starred a completely original character for the Chinese market and thusly a unique Autobot specifically based on that character. But amongst all of the repacks of Cyberverse toys, they also did building block toys. These were disassemble, reassemble style, but look at the accomplishment here. Look at what they did. That is an extremely well-formed, solid-looking Optimus Prime, looking better than anything we've seen to this point. And the truck mode, okay, it's a little stocky and heavy, but yeah, compared to like, the build the rules and all that, I don't really think that's a bad thing. Like, it looks really, really nice. Like, this is actually a pretty good accomplishment. Doesn't, it doesn't have actual transformation. True. But for that, like, disassemble, reassemble style, this is probably as good as it gets. Or at least it would be if they hadn't one up to themselves. Take a look at this beast. This is their, like, huge, super deluxe, premium, whatever set. And he just looks magnificent for a building block toy. This is far more close to the Lego Technic side of things. I don't think we're going to get anything that complicated out of Lego. But look at it. Again, you have to disassemble and reassemble for vehicle mode. But man, this looks spot on. This is just Cyberverse Optimus Prime. He just has a few extra lines here and there to show where he's been assembled with bricks. He is fantastic looking. And this, yeah, by far the best we had ever gotten. And that is the last time to date that they have attempted a building brick set of Transformers. Now, this all comes with a caveat of none of it was done by Lego, who are the masters of figuring out how to get their bricks into whatever shape they want. So the idea that we might actually be getting something directly from Lego and knowing that it could be we expect it to be exceptional. Transforming things from assembled blocks is not an easy thing, but if anyone can do it, like I've seen some of the sets they've created recently, I don't have any doubt that they could pull it off. It's going to be interesting because May is not too far off, and it's and I don't think at this point if there is a reveal that like there's only 3 months down the line, I don't see Lego being able to stop everything and hold it up and not let it, hit retailers. It's made, it's in production, it has to come out. So this is going to be interesting to follow. Now it could all be nothing, and I could make this video for no reason whatsoever, which is why you got a history lesson instead of a whole bunch of speculation about what this could potentially be. Personally, I do kind of hope it's G1 and not Rise of the Beast based. I think movie designs are maybe a little bit too complicated for Lego to try, and I'd kind of like a Legacy style Optimus Prime thing. And since it comes with a display stand, I actually expect that to be the case. So this will be interesting to watch over and keep an eye out on. And once again, thank you guys for watching. Let me know in the comments below what you think this is going to be. If it's gonna, is it just a rumor? Is this actually going to be a thing? And if it is, are you hoping for movie? Are you hoping for G1? Kind of curious what you guys think on this one. So let me know in the comments below. And of course, I will see you for the next video. Hope to see you then. Guys, I am facing the most powerful enemy any YouTuber can face, the algorithm, and I need your help to defeat him. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, and leave a comment. Every time you do, we attack that algorithm and we drive it back until it can no longer defeat this channel. Thank you very much.